talk to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let me talk to you. I'm in a good mood today. We're going to talk about WWE, AEW ratings, the NXT versus AEW Dynamite going head to head. Tony Khan's upset. He's talking all types of trash. NXT blew him out of the water, but there's a little bit more to all of this that I do want to discuss. We are going to go through the ratings. We actually have the Wrestlenomics breakdown here. Someone has captured it for us. So we're going to take a look and break down kind of almost segment by segment because I love going through rating stuff. The thing I will preface by saying is that, and you guys hit me up in the comments, hit me up in the live chat if you are joining us here live, youtube.com/assembleshow. Hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, all the good stuff. Working towards 94,000 some odd billion subscribers, whatever the hell it is. Here's the thing. This is a one-off show. A one-off head-to-head. There is a little bit more going on when it comes to WWE that we will get into this morning with regards to Endeavor, the deals, the TV deals, and so on that play into all of this. And we're also going to talk about Tony Khan, Tony's reaction, and how Tony went about all of this. But I will preface by saying, number one, wrestling fans win. Okay, we got over here now. I'll talk to you over here. Let me talk to you. Wrestling fans win. That's the biggest thing. We all win. Why? Because we got entertaining wrestling for one night, going head to head. It's fun for fans. Everybody wins. Number two, I think there was a second point. No, just that it's a one-off shot. So we don't need to get too invested of like who won, who lost, but we will break it down so that people can see exactly the hell happened. All right, break it down. HBK, AAA. Wrestlenomics has this, and we're going to go in even deeper, ladies and gentlemen. That's what she said, so strap in and strap on. WWE NXT last night on USA Network. 921,000 viewers with the 18 to 49 rating of 0.30. And AEW Dynamite on TBS did a 609,000 viewer rating with a rating of 0.26 in the key demos. They go through it, but we'll go through a little bit deeper. But if you guys didn't know, NXT went a little bit hog wild. Not the WCW pay-per-view, but they went a little nutso when it came to all of the talent that they brought on the show. It was nuts. Shawn Michaels was cooking. Everybody was cooking. The Rock wasn't there cooking, but a lot of people were in the kitchen stirring pots, making soups, and making chilies. You had Cody Rhodes. You had Asuka. You had Jade Cargill show up. You had L.A. Knight as a special guest referee. You had The Undertaker pile driving people. No, giving Braun Breaker a choke slam. Yeah, did I say Cody? And John Cena doing a lot of backstage segments. It felt like a super show, an exhibition of NXT, putting on a one-time step away from regular weekly programming and doing this one shot of let's just overhype and overdo everything to not only combat AEW going head to head with them, but I think also to drive interest with networks of what they can do. Oh yeah, and we had Paul Heyman on TV too. God, man, there was just so much going on. Contrast that with AEW. Dynamite, I think it felt like Dynamite put on a more regular Dynamite show. Felt more AEW, standard book by numbers, with a few odd decisions, if I must say, where you had two title changes. The big one being Saraya, in my opinion, dropping the title after no run with the belt, after no promos, after no programs with anybody. Just drops it to Shida. It's like, okay, like it just doesn't mean anything. And maybe we'll get a cool story out of all of it, maybe. But they didn't do anything with Saraya, and I'm a little bummed by that as a viewer. You also had Orange Cassidy pick up the international title off Rey Fenix, who was basically an interim. Like it was an audible. He wasn't supposed to win. Mox was. Feel like they're just going to come back around to Mox and Orange Cassidy again, which I'm okay with. I thought Swerve versus Bryan was good. There was some good stuff on Dynamite. Roddy Strong segment, which we'll get into. Some of the higher performing segments were in there. There's a lot to like overall, but the big thing is that if you're just a wrestling fan, then you win. That's what it is. You get to win, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's break it down. HBK with the Triple H. We're doing a big old thing and we're baking a cake. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. I appreciate you guys. You're the best community on the internet, and I love that we get to talk about wrestling, and I get to talk about wrestling as a career. It just kind of hit me, so thank you. You make my day. Bake that cake. Let's go. What I want you to pay attention to, maybe I can zoom out of this slightly. I cannot. It's feeling like it's going to just explode. The gray number is AEW Dynamite. The yellow number you see is going to be NXT. And I'll break this down for you. Sean. But let's look at it kind of bit by bit. Quarter hour breakdown. Viewers are in the thousands. Okay. The first quarter hour. 991,000 for NXT for the opening segment. That was, which is 8 to 8:15 p.m. I love this breakdown, by the way. I love this. So 8 to 8:15 p.m., and I know it's cut off for you guys on screen, so I'll talk to you. Cody Rhodes, Ilya Dragunov, Dominic Mysterio with the live promo did 991,000 viewers to kick off the show. Dynamite, conversely, did 731,000 to kick off from 8 to 8:15 p.m. This was Christian's promo, Bryan Danielson versus Swerve. This was a great match, and I love Christian. Christian was top-notch, by the way, guys. And also, we did, as Tim points out in the chat, with his big old latte he's got going on there, is you got 30 minutes of commercial-free TV for both NXT and AEW as we kick things off. It was a great match. Rishi is in the chat, too. What's up, buddy? Dynamite had a great wrestling, though. I will give it that. I actually enjoyed some of the matches more than usual. Me too. I thought it was a good wrestling show overall. I enjoyed it. Let's look at the second part. 8:15 to 8:30. NXT got 956,000 viewers. For NXT, this was Asuka versus Roxanne Perez, Tyler Bate, Butch and Ridge Holland versus Gallus. The street fight thing they did was fun. The Asuka Roxanne match was good, just short. The thing that was good with NXT, also, NXT was trying to pack everything into it. And again, this is just contrasting styles, which is just an interesting thing to look at too, from booking, how the how the shows are formatted from NXT to AEW. NXT, while I was watching it, and I watched both at the same time, NXT was very just bang, 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 bang. Like Asuka, Roxanne Perez, short match. It felt like it was just done. The Butch match, the 3-on-3 was fairly long, I guess, for what the program was overall, but it just felt like NXT was moving at a fast clip to get everything in that they had jammed into it. Versus AEW, in my opinion, I felt like they gave it more room to breathe. Some stuff I felt dragged on a little too long. I thought the Jay White Hangman match dragged a little too long, on top of the fact that you had a big promo at the end that went very long, like an extra 10 minutes in a segment. So it was a lot, but I'm not complaining that we got long matches. I like that. Again, wrestling fans win. MDB, Sean, Nathan, Mike in the chat. Good to see you. Channel members, good to have you. All right. In that second segment, AEW did 655,000 viewers. It was Danielson versus Swerve Strickland continued, and then you entered into Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs. I love how that match ended. Good for Hobbs winning as well. I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. And there was even a clip online where it was like Jericho was mouthing to Hobbs, "Put your knee on my face and pin me." I love that Jericho did this. I think you need Powerhouse Hobbs looking giant, looking dominant, kind of like Swerve. I wish Swerve won, but I understand where they're going with that. I want Swerve to either go up to World Heavyweight title. Hobbs, I think maybe even skip the TNT title. He's been there, done that. Get maybe Hobbs going after that international championship. Hobbs looked great. Strickland looked great. They need those wins and those feuds with guys like Mox, with guys like Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. So make that happen in AEW. Give Swerve a belt. I'll let them cook. But yeah, Hobbs, I like that match. And it did fairly good. But we did see a drop here if you look at both shows. NXT, not much of a drop. AEW, a little bit more of a drop for them, but nothing crazy. The other thing, one other thing I'll say before we continue, for both shows, because I saw some of the sentiment online. I agree. Swerve needs to be in the title picture. Keep these few things in mind. NXT super shot a show full of steroids and put on everything they possibly could. And some people I felt like online were saying like, wow, NXT with all of that. I saw somebody tweet this. They're like, with all of that star power, with all of that hype and push, they still couldn't crack 1 million viewers on NXT. It's going up against playoff baseball, which is somewhere in the neighborhood, depending on depending on the game and depending on the market. It's doing like 3 million viewers. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You got fall TV programming as well. Tuesday night was a big heavy night of content. So yeah, they didn't crack 1 mil, but it's not a standard show that NXT's putting on either. And you're going up against a lot. Likewise, when we look at AEW and people are like, wow, AEW got crushed in the ratings. Dynamite is Wednesday nights. This is a one-off show that they did on Tuesday. So they're not going to get, and again, they're competing with a lot. Reach says NBA preseason is on too. Yes. NHL just started up again as well. So there's a lot of elements within all of this to consider how they did. If people are just immediately jumping the gun that AEW bombed or AEW failed and they lost NXT in a huge way, it's not their normal night for programming. It's Tuesday night going head to head with NXT. So you're not only losing viewers for switching nights, because some people will just say, I can watch on Wednesday nights, and you didn't put it on Wednesday nights. So they lose some viewers for Wednesday nights, not having it on Wednesday. Then you're factoring in maybe some of the audience also flipping back and forth, and some of the audience that might just be like, I'm going to watch NXT and I'm going to record AEW, or vice versa. There's a lot of components in here. Demo Dom is fire. Yeah, man. There's a lot to consider. And to keep in mind when all of this and reviewing these things. I just think that the audience, I'm saying all this because I think a lot of the online audience is very quick to just be like, here's the number, AEW lost. I'm like, it's not 1-to-1 and it's a one night deal. Let's continue. As I drink my coffee. NXT, 800 in the next section, so 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. NXT did 861,000 viewers. For NXT, this part of it was the Butch Holland the Gallows match through picture-in-picture ads and Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyrie video was in there too. So NXT dropped again. They went down 10%. So when NXT started off there, they only dropped in the second segment about 4%. Now they've dropped down 10%. So the audience saw the end of the match, and then you got the Becky Lynch promo. They flipped off a little bit. Not a huge thing. The the AEW numbers, they actually went up a little bit. So from when they started and they opened the show, they dropped down, that's 10% to 655. Then they went up a little bit to 673,000 viewers. This is the last 3 minutes of the Jericho, Hobbs, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong Kingdom video, and the Orange Cassidy versus Rey Fenix match was starting. So they gained a little bit there because people wanted to see the end of the Hobbs Jericho match. The Roderick Strong clip was apparently one of the breakouts for the actual show, one of the higher segments. I believe it was the Hobbs Jericho match was the highest viewed segment, along with the Cole Roderick Strong segment that they did, the pre-filmed, which I love. I love everything that Roderick Strong is doing, and Adam Cole. Cole's going to get fixed up. I don't want to see them just do Roddy at the house. They need to now go to like Adam Cole's house or do a stream or do something else. Like, keep making it creative. Keep Adam Cole on TV. And if Adam Cole gets the surgery and gets off TV for a little bit, maybe do some of the pre-film things with Roderick Strong and MJF. Keep that going. My opinion, get Adam Cole in the arena on TV. If he's healthy to walk a little bit or be on a crutch or something, keep Adam Cole on TV and keep him present so that once he's healed up and ready to go, if he can just show up for Dynamites and have a role that's meaningful, then bring him out and do that. If you just see him to just stand ringside, don't do it. But if you can do something meaningful with Adam Cole, MJF, Roddy, do that plus the pre-filmed, it'll go a long way for me. James Hawkeye, club member, 8 months, brother. Thank you very much. Oh yes, our tribal chief returns tomorrow. It's gonna be bangers. Next segment. NXT went up 6%. We got up to 909,000 viewers. So for this, from 8:45 to 9 p.m., this was the ad break. You got John Cena, Braun Breaker live promo, and then an ad break. So they even went up. So John Cena coming out, they popped a little bit more for that to see what Cena was going to talk about. When it comes to AEW, though, they took a bigger drop here. They went down 12%. We are down to 589,000 viewers from the previous segment of 673. This was the finish to the Phoenix Cassidy match, the Tony Storm video, which was awesome, picture-in-picture full-screen ad break, Wardlow versus Matt Sydal, Jericho Garcia Menard backstage, and the Jay White Adam Page through the picture-in-picture ads, 8:45 to 9 p.m. They dropped down considerably. That is a lot that they're cramming in there, to be fair. You got the end of the match, the Tony Storm vignette is good, but then you're going into another backstage segment, and then you're starting off with the Jay White match. So you lost a little bit of people there. Also, you might lose some of the audience who's flipping, and they're like, oh, John Cena's on TV. Let's see what's going on. And also, like I love Wardlow, but it's a Wardlow squash match. He literally walked in and just powered Matt Sydal, like powerbombed him a bajillion times and walked out. And I know that's the gimmick, but it's not worth investing for people. That is a Twitter highlight. You know, that's what we're getting at this point with Wardlow, which is really too bad. I want Wardlow and meaningful stuff. But next up, NXT in the next segment, in the next quarter hourly segment, NXT went up 5% at 955,000 viewers. That part was 9 to 9:15 p.m. This was D'Angelo, Lorenzo. This was Cody Rhodes backstage doing that segment with them. You had Baron Corbin promo, Dom Dom versus Ilya Dragunov with LA Knight through the picture-in-picture with the ad. So you went up again. You got Cody Rhodes on the screen. Plus, you got Dom. And then you got LA Knight being your big draw special guest referee. Again, WWE just pumping the ratings and just pumping everybody through to get anybody and everybody. LA Knight in a special guest referee role for this made zero sense. There's no reason for LA Knight to be there at all. At all. He's had zero interactions with Judgment Day. If it was Bloodline, it made sense. It didn't make any sense, but I'm good. But yeah, NXT went up a little bit, guys. And then AEW on their side for this section, they went from 589,000 viewers and they lost more viewers. They went down 7% to 549,000. This is Jay White, Adam Page continued. Picture-in-picture, the post-match with the MJF live promo. This is where I said that I felt that I liked the Swerve Danielson match, but I did feel like that was 8 to 8:15. So that was a 15-minute match, the beginning. And that was also a Christian promo, so it wasn't even. Some reason for me, it must have just been that NXT was going at such a high clip, like with bang, 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 because I felt Swerve and Danielson just kept going. And I was kind of like, this is great, but shorten this up. And I kind of watched it back and I was like, this is a great match. So it wasn't as long. I think it was just contrasting, and NXT was so fast paced. Likewise, I think the Jay White Hangman Adam Page match I felt was a little too long, because you also did a promo at the end, and I felt like that dragged it. It's not to compete 1-to-1 between NXT and AEW for this segment here, but you did drop, just for AEW's numbers, you dropped again. So you went from the match, finished the match, another promo. The promo was long as well, a little controversial too, so you might have turned some fans off, maybe a little bit, but we'll take a look next. Next up for NXT, they went down 5%, down from 958 to 914,000 viewers. This is coming in for the 9:15 to 9:30 segment. The last 3 minutes of Dragunov and Dom, John Cena, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes backstage, which I loved, and I love that Trick looks like he's going after the NXT championship. He's skipping the North American because Carmelo made a comment to him like, I'm going for the title, and you should go after the North American title. And Trick's like, I don't think so. I loved that. And then I love that Trick was like, I want to talk to you and wanted to get some advice from Cena. Dude, I'm telling you, Mello and Trick, main roster, hopefully by like the Rumble, they show up in the Royal Rumble. Maybe they eliminate each other. But Trick Willie, like Carmelo, mega talent. Trick, I think, is going to be the next big talent in 10 years. I think if you get Trick Williams on the main roster by next year, after WrestleMania, the dude has everything. I'm just looking at him like, for Vince McMahon and Triple H, he's huge. You see him in a backstage segment with Carmelo, John Cena, and himself. Trick is bigger than Cena, like actual height, and he's just bigger. And the dude is charismatic beyond anything. For me, he's a combination of like Booker T and The Rock, just blended into his own thing. He's just so charismatic. And is he like, 5-star wrestling guy? No, but it's WWE. They don't need that. You can be a comparable wrestler. LA Knight is like the hottest thing. He ain't that great of a wrestler, but can Trick tell stories? Can LA Knight tell stories? Gets people invested. Trick, I totally love. I would love to see the Royal Rumble move happen because they can blend the story from NXT and then have the final breakdown where they're both getting called up to main roster together. That'd be kind of a cool way to actually introduce them, where you could say, hey, we're announcing that Mello and Trick are getting pulled up. They're in the Royal Rumble. They do that. You can build that story through NXT and have like Mello turn on Trick or vice versa in the Rumble. I don't know. I like Trick and I like Mello. So 914,000 viewers, guys. This is not only the Trick backstage segment. This is also Jade Cargill showing up with Shawn Michaels. Hey, Jade, you want to wrestle? Not yet. All right. HBK stuck it. Cody backstage. Dom, Rhea Ripley, Frazier backstage, and what is it? Danny Palmer. Oh yeah. And Lola Vice, that match. So we went down just a little bit. That's also a lot jammed in for NXT. No complaints, but it's a lot of segments. That's a lot of cut segments. AEW Dynamite went up 1% from 549 to 557. Jay White, MJF, Juice Robinson, the live promo, that continued. Then Tony Storm's video through picture-in-picture ads. So you went up just a little bit for people to see the very end of this promo to see how the heck the thing turned out. Then you move on to 9:30 to 9:45. For NXT, they went to 887,000 viewers. They lost 3%. Guys, this is also coming over from Wrestlenomics. They give you the full breakdown via their Patreon, so make sure you go and check out Wrestlenomics for like all of their info for the breakdowns. This was actually just captured. Someone captured this on Twitter. So here we are. But got to give full credit to Wrestlenomics for putting it together, and go support them on Patreon for all of the statistics and the breakdowns. 887,000 viewers for NXT. They dropped 3%. This was going to be Palmer vs. Vice continued. The Chase U segment. Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman backstage, getting all jacked up. And then Cena Hayes entrance, the ad break, and the Lexus King video, the Brian Pillman Jr. video. So they lost just ever so slightly in there. For Dynamite, stayed exactly the same. People hung around. The Shida Saraya match, picture-in-picture ads. Callis, Takeshita promo as well was in there. So they didn't lose. They stayed steady for 2 segments. So right around the mid part from 9 o'clock to 9:45 p.m. for Dynamite, you can see it's basically level. People stuck with them from 9 to 9:45. And that's where I have no problem. Like, these aren't crazy dips for Dynamite. Dynamite, I always worry when it just like tanks. It's gone down, but the thing to keep in mind with these ratings is that if you look at the trend for Dynamite, they basically held their viewers. The ones that were there stayed. You got more of a spike at the beginning, which could be the lead-in from the previous, like whatever's airing right before Dynamite. You get a little bit of spike at the beginning, and it basically settled in. Is it the highest? No, but it's not crazy dives where it goes 9 to 9:30 and it went from 500 to 400,000. Like it was fairly steady. Then we move on to the next segment, 9:45 to 10 p.m. this is supposed to be the end, but we had an overrun as well for both shows. This, you lost 2%, so 866,000 viewers. You got Asuka, Tiffany Stratton, backstage, Carmelo Hayes with Cena, the Braun Breaker, Heyman through picture-in-picture ads. Bam Ba Boom subscribed. Yes. Thank you, buddy. And then you've got, so they lost ever so slightly for NXT. Then you got Dynamite at 559,000 viewers. Again, they stayed basically with no gain, but no loss either. This is the full screen ad break, MJF, the Acclaim promo backstage, Christian Cage live promo, and then you led into Adam Copeland, Luchasaurus match from 9:45 to 10. At 10 o'clock is when the Edge match started to actually happen. I was watching the clock and I was like, this thing is clearly going in the overrun, and it did. So we got 10 to 10:14 p.m., the overrun. NXT went up 11%. People coming in to see what the heck was going to happen at the very end of this whole thing. And you got 606, an 8% increase for Dynamite to see the very end as well. For NXT, with the 11% increase, this is Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker with the post-match, so the ending to that, and the post-match of The Undertaker walking around, barely getting off the motorcycle and going up the steps. Bang, bang, bang. Walk in, choke slam. I'm the dead man, and I am the biker guy. The Undertaker. I'm a choke slam you to hell. Braun Breaker just posted as high as he could for Undertaker and ate all of the chokeslam, which was great. I felt bad for Undertaker's body. Michelle. By the way, if you're a channel member, you can also put in those lovely Undertaker Michelle emotes. So go crazy there if you want to. Then we got, that was how they ended NXT, which was pretty huge when you got the Undertaker walking in with a motorcycle into NXT just to do that. And then you've got Dynamite with an 8% increase going to 606. And this is going to be the end of the Edge Luchasaurus match. Continued through picture-in-picture ads, the post-match with Christian and Nick Wayne, and then Danielson coming in, Yuta, and the whole schmoz at the very end. Strickland, Swerve was in there. Hangman, big schmoz at the end for 10 to 10:14, the overrun. And that's it. And that's how NXT and AEW Dynamite fared. But what did you think? Were the ratings good? The ratings bad? Did it matter to you? And like I said at the beginning here, I felt like this is just, there's a lot of components going on here. On AEW's side, they didn't lose a lot of viewers. They didn't start off at 1 million and drop to 6. They stayed steady throughout the entire night, which is good. It's a one-night thing. It's Tuesday night for Dynamite, which I actually like how that sounds better than AEW on Wednesday night Dynamite. They should have had it on Tuesday nights for Tuesday night Dynamite. Just for how it sounds to Matt. But they didn't lose a lot of fans. They didn't lose a lot of people. Their AEW audience stuck with them and watched the whole thing, for the most part. Where I think AEW has a challenge is when their viewership never seems to fully increase. With the regular throwing this on Wednesday night, I'd probably, with nothing else really competing with it on a regular Wednesday, I gotta figure, guys, that AEW would pull in somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 viewers and change, which is usually what they do on a regular basis. My challenge and issue with AEW from, I guess, a ratings perspective is that they never grow. AEW will get maybe with like, didn't Edge's like debut, it didn't even do like crack 1 million, something like that. Other than like giant debuts, returns, CM Punk, something like that, frig, like Roman Reigns showing up on AEW, aside from something monumental, it's not cracking 1 million on the primetime show. But the bigger thing, it can go from 1 mil and then it will drop down to 8, or it stays around an average rating of 800,000. My one problem with AEW is that it's never grown. They have found their audience, and that's amazing, but they have never seemed to grow the audience, segment by segment, show by show. It all feels like it settles into around 800,000, and that's it. And if I'm Tony Khan, I got to look at like, okay, I got this core audience of 800,000 viewers. How are we actually going to grow this thing? Not hot-shotting debuts, because that lasts a week, and then it settles. And it doesn't matter 1 week to the, like, you got to build over time. Has the audience grown? It's not the same thing. You can't just constantly be like, I'm going to get Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin and debut them, and that will work. Well, that will bring people in for curiosity. They see it for a week and then they move on, or they settle back in, and it settles. NXT, what they're doing is interesting, not for this show. This is an exhibition, one-time, big flavor Jolly Rancher of a show. What's interesting with NXT is them pulling main roster talent like a Becky Lynch, like they did with Dolph Ziggler, like they did with Dominic and have been doing there consistently. And I don't mean the hot shot of what we just saw. I mean pulling in Dominic week over week, Becky week over week, even for a short term. They had Seth Rollins come into a match. They've been pulling in main roster talent here and there, and it's a better strategy, and it's showing that the NXT numbers are going up consistently, going from 600, 700, 800,000 viewers right now. Are they going to get that next week? No. It's going to settle back down again. They might have Becky on the show, but they can do certain things. But it's also a way to get fans, maybe people that are main roster fans and don't watch NXT, they hear Cody, John Cena, and them are on TV in LA Knight. They go and check it out. Oh, they get The Undertaker, but they can see NXT talent and what the show is about, and they might stick around next week. So I like NXT's approach to all of this. It's a one hotshot deal, nothing more. Do the ratings matter? No. Ultimately, no. It's a one-shot deal. I think it'd be foolish if WWE and AEW look at ratings like that and put too much emphasis and stock into how one show performs. I think if you're Tony Khan, you'll look at how is my show performing month, quarter over quarter, year over year. And I think there's numbers out there, but I would think and hazard a guess that AEW's numbers for Dynamite are sticking around 800,000 no matter what they do on a total annual average. And that's my guess. Big MGM, thank you for your super chat. Daily reminder of the Tombstone Pile Driver 5 minutes into the Adam Copeland match. Yes, I did not like that at all, MGM. Comes out, they do a couple moves. Luchasaurus, Tombstone Pile Driver, Edge kicks out at 2. Protect the moves. Protect the moves. Do a pile driver for Luchasaurus. Do that. He's basically Kane. His entrance theme song is like a remix of Kane. He's basically Kane 2.0. Do the Tombstone Pile Driver and have Edge kick out. But do that in the final 2 minutes of the match where it makes sense. Not the first minute. I don't like that. Because you have nowhere to go. From a storytelling perspective. You just took a pile driver. A Tombstone Pile Driver. Where do you go there from the match? Anything else Luchasaurus does is meaningless. Let's continue on with Tony Khan, though, because I think it's a issue. Tony Khan took shots at everybody, going back and forth on the Twitter. And the thing is, like, yeah, WWE does all their marketing and stuff for NXT and whatnot, but they don't do the shot taking. They do it their own way by just loading up their shows. But Tony Khan takes shots at Vince McMahon. It's coming over from Cultaholic. Aiden Gibbons writes the article here. When you're in a wrestling war, the prevailing belief is that you should always punch up. And that is certainly what Tony Khan has been doing in recent days. He's just fisting up and up higher and higher, and he can't get further up Vince McMahon's butthole. AEW Dynamite title Tuesday went head-to-head in NXT. Tony Khan was recently feisty. He was feisty with the build-up to the Tuesday Night War. See, the funny thing is like Tony's like, I'm in a war. I'm going to fight everybody and fist everybody all the time. And WWE goes with like, we don't know what you're talking about. But then Triple H turns around and he's like, yeah, I'm going to beat your ass. What Puff Dutch? This has nothing to do with North Carolina. I don't know what that means. Social media, Vince McMahon, he tweeted out the GIF spinning and saying, who gives an F? Khan fired back with, if Sir Vince McMahon said this, it would be the least of his alleged misdeeds. Khan then referred to McMahon's alleged misdeeds in interviews ahead of Dynamite, and he has continued to do so since the head-to-head battle ended. After one user on Twitter said, Vince McMahon has the power and the influence to take cheap shots, Khan simply wrote back, yes, Vince has allegedly used his power and influence to shoot a lot of shots. Khan is referring to the hush money and sexual misconduct allegations of Vince McMahon, for which he's currently under investigation by the U.S. government, and McMahon is allegedly needs to pay $14.6 million to women from 2006 to 2022. Allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity. He also paid $5 million to the Trump Foundation in relation to Trump's appearance on 07 to 09. Tony, stop it. Tony, get off Twitter and make the shows better. There was another, and I don't have it in front of me, guys. Maybe I can find it. There was something else with regards to how the night went. There was something else when it comes to the ratings and Endeavor. And I think Ari Emanuel was talking about how the ratings, the decision to do all these things, Ari Emanuel is open to WWE programming moving to other nights. That was the thing that came up. Here we go. WrestleOps has this little breakdown for you here. During Bloomberg's Screen Time conference, TKO Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel states that WWE would have no issue are open to moving Raw to a different night once the TV deal is up next year. The WWE Raw TV deal, I believe, ends next September or October. The USA Network bought SmackDown. They're going to run SmackDown, they say, on Friday nights. That deal comes into effect next year. Ari Emanuel writes, quote, "We're 52 weeks a year, right? And we're flexible. You want us on Thursday night? You want us on Tuesday night? I don't have any of those scheduling issues. I would say to you, there's plenty of interest in Raw right now." Yeah. And you're not only talking about Monday Night Raw, you're talking about NXT. You're talking all programming. Now, the question I would have for all of you, do you think that WWE Raw and NXT will stay with USA Network and they make USA Network the exclusive home of WWE because they have SmackDown now, they have Raw and NXT to the end of the contract next year? Or do you see somebody else coming into play for Raw and NXT? To me, it stays with USA Network. Why get one and not the others? Just put it all out. Like, put it all under USA Network. USA right now, as WrestleMania is saying, USA is only taking SmackDown. Yes, that is confirmed. But we don't know what's going to happen with Raw and NXT. Is USA Network going to pick and re-up those contracts? You got all that. You also got everything on the Peacock. If it stays on USA Network, it's on cable versus network television. I don't know. But for Ari Emanuel to say that we're flexible in moving WWE Raw, it'd be wild. It's been Monday Night Raw forever. Do I want to see it on another night? Yeah, kind of. Because I'd be just pure curiosity, everybody. I would be so curious what Tuesday Night Raw looks like. Or Wednesday Night Raw. If they keep... SmackDown looks like it's going to be on Friday nights. That seems to be... that was the deal that was communicated out. Of course, that could change. I don't really like Fridays at 8 to 10 p.m. But if USA Network gets it, they could work with WWE and just change all the schedules around and we could totally get WWE programming, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, completely flipped around. Would they do that? And would you lose some of your audience? Yes, you'd have to rebuild things up because of the habit and what viewers are used to with Raw coming on at 8 p.m. Eastern on USA Network on Mondays. You'd be moving away from that and you'd be getting into something different. So Raw would take a hit. If they moved SmackDown from Fridays to like Thursdays, again, I think you could take a hit from that 2.4 million viewers they've been getting right now, and it settles around 2, and they got to build it back up. But what Endeavor and WWE would simply do is that next year, when all this comes through and we got new contracts, and let's just say everything is going to be under USA Network, it doesn't matter, but let's just say it's all finalized. We got new days of the week for Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. All you got to do is super shoot the shows like they always do when it's season premieres and it's all this stuff. WWE just needs to sit there and be like, okay, put Brock Lesnar, put The Rock, put John Cena, put Cody Rhodes, Put Stone Cold Steve Austin, put them all out there on Raw and SmackDown and migrate main roster talent to NXT for all of the premiere nights. And you just super shoot the first week of shows so that everybody knows this is the home for Raw. It's on Tuesday nights, SmackDown's Thursday nights or Fridays, and this is where you can watch and check it out. It's not a huge deal. They'll just bring it back up. The other thing I want to talk about with this, though, because it's so interesting to me, just the thought of it. It also is for my WWE 2K universe. What if we move Raw from Mondays to Tuesdays, and it's, as 1KQ says, it's come Tuesday. It could happen. So what fascinates me with all this is the dates changing. Will it matter long term? No, not at all, because we'll just all get used to it as viewers. A lot of people watch stuff on demand. It has very little impact for most viewers, most of the wrestling audience, or they just watch it on Twitter and YouTube clips. So it's not a huge deal, but it does change things up, and it's good. It's a good way to refresh the brands. Give us new sets, give us new everything by next year. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun. What I would like to see is Raw moves to Tuesday nights, so you are no longer competing with Monday Night Football for the first time ever. Because I would love to see, would they continue on with a 3-hour show, by the way? Probably. If USA Network gets it, they like the advertising deal, WWE does, they keep it for 3 hours, fine. Raw right now for 3 hours isn't killing me. It used to with Vince. It's better now with Triple H. 3 hours of wrestling is a lot, no matter what you're doing. But I'm kind of used to it. Raw on Tuesdays. NXT goes to Wednesday nights. Assuming Tony Khan isn't changing anything on his end with the networks and TBS and TNT and all of them, you go head to head. And you'd have NXT going head to head with Dynamite, which I would love to see, because I want to see how it all fares out. And again, wrestling fans win because we get Wednesday Night Wars. And I would love to just see what both brands would do with some actual head-to-head competition. And would it force NXT to maybe get out of the studio setup and the Nickelodeon look? Because I am sick of that. That's the only thing that holds me back with NXT right now, is the production in that whole setting, that venue. Get out of there. Give me to a small arena locally in Florida or something. I absolutely hate the look of it. So they need a rebrand for me. If you even change nights of the week, give me something more Triple H style, grungy metal. Don't need it to be all dark. Find a happy medium. Give me Raw, but a mini Raw. Give me that. Step up or step aside. So then I would love NXT Tuesday night Raw, Wednesday night NXT going head to head with AEW. It also gives NXT the ability to freshen things up, to push their product further, and likewise do the same thing for Dynamite. Maybe it would force Tony Khan on a weekly basis to put out better stories and not just hot shot matches and debuts, because you can't keep doing that. I would wonder, and I would hope that it would make Tony Khan have to actually put bigger stories together and going head to head, but just stop being crazy with the tweeting and don't watch them and Vince's allegations and shooting on Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon doesn't care. Endeavor could buy Dynamite, and buy AEW. They got all the money. It's stop fighting and create your own path. Don't compete. Don't worry about the competition, because it's not one-to-one. It's just not. WWE could turn around tomorrow and just introduce another primetime show and be like, we got USA Network just gave us 2 more hours and we're doing that on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And we're going to have all the talent from Raw and SmackDown. They get to be on both shows. It's velocity. But you know what I mean? They could just do that tomorrow if they really wanted to. And they could pull all the talent they want. I would really love it if it forced Tony Khan's hand to get more invested in long-term stories, bigger story arcs, try to improve the product that way. Because Dynamite has been great in the past. When Dynamite popped up, I loved the first 2 years of Dynamite. Felt different, felt fresh, got into a lull. Punk showed up, that boosted things, but then it got into a lull after Punk's Muffin Mania. Then it started to get into a lull for me where after that point, probably coincidence, maybe a little bit of everything in timing, started to really take a dip in terms of stories. MJF Wardlow story, I loved it. You got none of that now. None of it. So I would love to see head-to-head. Tuesday night Raw, Wednesday night NXT going head-to-head with Dynamite, and Thursday night SmackDown. Give me Thursday nights again for SmackDown. Way better than Fridays. I think the ratings would do better. That way you could also do things, guys, where you change up the schedule for the wrestlers, because, and I'm sorry, I apologize. I saw this, like, Twitter's a big place. So I saw some clip earlier, and I totally agree with the opinion. Shifting everything, either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Get off football. I know there's Thursday night football, but whatever. You're not Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I agree with the sentiment online of you move away from the travel, as much travel, where you've got Monday right now and Tuesday NXT, then nothing, and then Friday. You could do all of the bookings in a smaller circuit in terms of venues. So you don't have to go to the same venue back to back for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but you could at least do them in smaller, similar areas, similar regions where the travel is like an hour or two, and not having to do it across the country or to another state. So it'd be a lot better that way. And then you could run live events over the weekend. And then it might be easier on the wrestlers if they got to work a Monday, and maybe they got to think of Cody and Jay. They're tag team champions. So they're going to show up on Mondays, and they might have to show up if we have it on Tuesday Raw, they got to show up on Tuesday, and they might also have to be booked on SmackDown Thursday. It's not as long of a trip. It's not as long of a week. Give them Mondays off. They show up for Raw. They got a day off or a live event, and then they show up for SmackDown on Thursdays, and then they continue on live events or their time off. I think it'd just be better structure for wrestlers, so their travel isn't as crazy. Maybe it'd be better. What the hell do I know? But it's something I would like to see. The other thing I'm glad to see that we are going to possibly get, and as soon as I'm about to do that, let me just answer some of your questions here in the chat. If you guys are joining us here live on YouTube, youtube.com/AssembleShow. It's my cheap plug. Go check out everything else. We got new 2K24 video up for kind of a very early wish list predictions that we got. So go check that out on the channel. Hit the like on this video. Hit subscribe. That absolutely helps grow everything in here. Javi says they need to move the Rumble to the first week of February. Where are we? January? Yeah, but it's a calendar timing, right? Like, I get it. End of January is okay. February would be better. I like them to push that out too, Javi, because then we just get right into WrestleMania. I don't like the stopover of like Elimination Chamber right before. I don't like the in-between before Mania, unless they're trying to book number one contender stuff. If it furthers stories to Mania, I'm fine. But yeah, moving the Rumble would be a good idea. And Planet Dan ASMR, thank you very much for your super chat. If they put SmackDown before Raw in the week, so you could get Monday, Tuesday night SmackDown, and then Thursday, Friday night Raw. Put SmackDown before Raw, okay. And then you could get Monday, Tuesday night SmackDown, and then Thursday night or Friday night Raw. That'd be killer. That'd be wild to see if you got Tuesday night SmackDown to kick off your week and you bumped Raw to the end of the week. Because SmackDown does kind of better numbers as a 2-hour program. It's kind of funny that way, isn't it? I think it's great. Let's see you guys in the chat. Good morning, Tony says in the chat. Good morning, MDB. February is the best month of the year. It's not bad. It's very cold. WrestleManiac says NXT's highest rating in 4 years. That's a win. Absolutely. And they went against different stuff. MDB says the new camera, it's very intimate. Day says NXT could go back to the retro look and the dark vibes during the black and gold era, but with a modern look. That's what I'm thinking too. Give me a hybrid. Give me like the new orangey logo for NXT. Give me a different stage set. Maybe do something like Raw and SmackDown or your own kind of blend. And mix in the black a little bit. Or give me the black and gold logo again. And get the titles updated. Don't give me the multicolored NXT title. Like, just update everything. If they change nights or USA Network is going to re-sign, I think it's a good opportunity to refresh all the brands next year. Give me a huge refresh on titles and everything else. 1KQ says unrelated, but any possibility of Spider-Man streams? Probably not, because it's all WWE here on the channel. Like to. I also don't have the PlayStation 5 hooked up in here, so that's a shame. Anthony says refusing to admit that he's a. I don't know what that is. RR needs to be Royal Rumble needs to be the weekend. They aren't any NFL playoffs games. The week before is the SB. Okay, so yeah, you're saying that because of the NFL playoffs, that's kind of where Royal Rumble has to fit in. That's a very good point. The Rhea era of NXT was my favorite look by far. Very cool, guys. All right, another bit of news for you is with regards coming from Cultaholic. We're talking War Games. War Games returning at Survivor Series. With autumn well and truly upon us, wrestling fans are looking ahead to the final major WWE play. And we're going to get it at Survivor Series. Vince, why? I don't like Survivor Series. I wanted brand warfare. God damn it. I want to have blue shirts versus red shirts. Come on, I got my cane. Why isn't nobody applauding me? What's wrong with you, pal? On the 37th annual multi-wrestler night of Survival isn't the only thing returning to WWE screens. As reports suggest, WWE are planning to run War Games. Dusty Rhodes Creations, stable of NXT for several years, then it came over, but Fightful and a report from Fightful Select suggests that there are at least a men's War Games match on the table for the Chicago event, which would make sense because we've had the stare down on Raw of Judgment Day and Team Cody. It totally makes sense that they would do that. A women's War Games, I don't see. The only people that are going into like a multi-person situation is Rhea, Nia Jax. Who else you got? Raquel. What was the other one? Then you could do enough. I don't know. There's not enough female stories going on right now. The tag side has got a little thing happening. There's not enough. Well, no plans yet have confirmed the show. Fightful reports suggest that Judgment Day could be involved in the match. It is unknown whether the Women's War Games will also come to fruition. I like to see a Women's War Games match, but I don't need it. You don't have to overdo War Games. Also, when you do 2 War Games matches, one feels more important than the other. The 2-ring match was a staple for Jim Crockett promotion in the 90s, turning influence the Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber. I like to see War Games back. I don't know if it necessarily has to be a staple of Survivor Series, but I think with Triple H, much like he did when he just got rid of Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, he makes the Hell in a Cell match feel important, not a whole show based on it. That's where Survivor Series doesn't have to be Survivor Series, but you can have War Games. Survivor Series makes sense because it's usually multi-person tag team matches, etc. You don't have to overdo it. If they only did 1 War Games match, that's fine, because it makes sense for the story they're telling, and that's what Triple H is typically doing now. It's going to make sense to have War Games. Versus Vince didn't do War Games, but if he did, he would put on 3 or 4 War Games matches because he'd just be like, shove them all in there, all the War Games. I don't need that. I need 1 War Games match, and that's it. That's all we need. That's all I got to say about that. This guy on YouTube, 1-month club member. Too sweet, my brother. Thank you very much. Can I receive payment in USD even if I'm not in the USA? Curious if I can convert Rand to dollars while living in South Africa, getting paid on YouTube. Guy on YouTube, I do not know. What I would suggest is, if you're talking about conversions and all that, I would go into your YouTube studio and do a live chat with a YouTube agent, because then they can better direct you where your issue is. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Fans, let's see. FBE says, do you think CM Punk teases will continue? Well, let's talk about CM Punk, my good friend. We do got Punky Punk news. The real reason WWE turned down bringing back CM Punk. Punk's been a free agent since he left. Although WWE aren't interested in signing Punk at the moment, House of Wrestling has reported that a source close to the situation felt the door was open for Punk to make a WWE comeback at some point down the road, and Punk could be brought in if Endeavor feel he is needed. I gotta say, the back and forth right now has been, in case you've been under a rock, which I don't think you are, right now the biggest thing is WWE has a lot of storylines going on. They got a lot in the hopper. And if their Triple H's got plans, seems like they are going to be having a bit of a roadmap. They probably don't have all the concrete plans of what they're doing from Survivor Series, Rumble, WrestleMania yet, but they probably have penciled ideas in. Maybe the Dave Meltzers of the world are not correct. Because right now it's like, there's no talks. It never happened. Sean Ross Sapp says there were talks. They don't want Punk. They did want Punk. They don't want Punk. Whatever. Could be that Punk is not a good fit right now for WWE. In that WWE has their stories figured out. They know the direction. You're going to give up more time, more equity to Punk. Give him a program, needing that TV time given to him. That's a lot, and that's a lot of spots and a lot of time invested. Maybe they don't want to do that right now because they're on a hot streak. Maybe they have The Rock coming out. Maybe they have just too much on their plate where, like, it doesn't make sense to bring him in because they don't need Punk. They don't. This isn't even 5 years ago when if you said Punk could come back to WWE and he made his official first return, that would be massive. But it's not that time. We've got Bloodline and Judgment Day and Cody and maybe The Rock and so many different things. Stone Cold Steve Austin could do a match at WrestleMania because he was almost going to last year, but the booking wasn't right, apparently. They don't need Punk. Would I like to see Punk on TV? Absolutely. One final run, get some good matches in there, send him home happy. I'd be happy. Would I be shocked if he showed up? No. They continue on to say that the fact that WWE product is hot and not in the need of an additional big star is something that has come up regularly in conversations with people about the situation. House of Wrestling wrote for the avoidance of doubt. With AEW and WWE off the table, Punk does still have the option of Impact. He could still run indies and go to the Impact, but no, I don't think so. So I think it's possible Punk still comes back. If he does it, it's got to be the Rumble or Chicago for Survivor Series, one or the other. But it doesn't need. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and that's okay, because it could just be the timing of it all. We will see. But yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Wrapping up the live show. Well, we'll wrap up the on-demand. If you're here with me live, stick around because we will chat for a few more minutes for our post-show. If you join us on demand, thank you so much. Drop a like and a subscribe at the door if you enjoy the daily news updates here on Assemble for Let Me Talk to You. Thank you so much for watching. If you're joining us on demand, I will see you on the next one. Too sweet. Goodbye.
Let me talk to you.